John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy podcast.
Theme tune time. Let's go, John. John and Sam in Japan. John and Sam in Japan. John and Sam in Japan.
I told you there's no way I'm singing.
Come on. John and Sam in Japan. John and Sam in Japan. Yeah. John and Sam in Japan.
Never gonna happen. And put your clothes back on, it's just weird.
Never.
John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy podcast.
Welcome to the show. I'm Sam.
All right, so we're not doing the two Ronnies thing. Okay.
No, we can do it.
Oh, good.
Are you up for it?
Yeah.
Okay. He's John.
And he's Sam.
And this is John and Sam in Japan.
The international comedy podcast.
Episode 3.
Yeah, we've got quite a way to catch up to Mark Maron, I think.
Yeah, how many episodes has he done?
I think it's about 900.
All right.
You know, but he does it by himself, whereas we're a double act, if you will.
What do you mean by that?
I think we'll definitely be sick of each other long before we get to 900 episodes.
Why? Do I do something that annoys you?
No, well, don't know. How about your emails?
What about my emails?
They're very passive aggressive.
Well, it's better than being aggressive.
Oh, true. But I mean, you send me emails where you refer to us both in the third person. John has to do this, Sam has to do that. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it easy for you to understand.
I know. But you always put my name in bold capitals, which is just mental.
Yeah, that's because I'm trying to encourage you to do the jobs. Do you do them?
I don't know. But anyway, so what do we have lined up for episode 3?
It's a packed show. We have an interview with Mike Staffa of the Pirates of Tokyo Bay, some stand-up comedy from Egyptian-Irish comedian Zahra Barri, and the answer to this week's burning question: what's the biggest cultural faux pas you've ever made?
Sounds good.
Yeah, but first, this.
This is J&S in J News.
In this section of the show, John and I will bring you some news stories that you might have missed.
Yep, and so if anybody's got any news stories that you think are not getting the credit they deserve, you can send them to us on Facebook, Twitter, or johnandsaminjapan.com.
Okay, so let's get started. What have you got?
This is a story from Raleigh in North Carolina, I saw on the internet, and so a man pretending to be a 3-star US Army general wanted to impress a woman, and so he landed a helicopter at her place of work last year.
Hang on. So he was trying to impress a woman, so he was going to be a general, and then he landed a helicopter.
Where she worked.
Right. Where did she... I hope she didn't...
She worked at some...
children's hospital.
No, it's a technology company.
Right.
So he's 57 years old. He's charged with pretending to be a military officer, which carries a maximum of 3 years in prison.
Oh, wow.
And also a $250,000 fine. So, yeah, he decided for some reason to land this helicopter on a soccer field. Football. It's an American newspaper story. Yeah. And he said he turned up in full military battle dress, displaying 3 stars that implied he had a rank of lieutenant general. He said...
So he's gone all out.
He's gone all out. He said he saluted the security officers and they actually saluted him back.
Wow.
But then a suspicious security supervisor confronted him and he told them...
That's why he's the supervisor.
Yes, he told them that he was there to pick up a female employee to take her to Fort Bragg for a classified briefing.
Classified debriefing.
Yeah, that had been authorised by President Trump. Although it could, possibly could have happened.
One of the less strange things perhaps he's done.
So the woman, she was a long-time acquaintance of this guy. She expected him to arrive in a car for an outing they'd planned. But he turned up in a helicopter. She was already married and said she had no idea that he was going to do this or why he was involved in this strange behaviour. She didn't know what to make of it, but she just went along with it.
Wow, so she got in the helicopter?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you, let's say, not saying you're going to come and whisk me off my feet, but if you turned up at my place of work in a helicopter, I know that you don't have a helicopter. Yeah. I'd be pretty reluctant. I'd probably have to call a doctor if that.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't trust to get in a helicopter with you. I don't think. I mean, this guy, by the sound, he just sounds like an absolute renegade. He said he was in. He works out of his home as a car mechanic, and he was wearing...
Also, hang on, he's not a 3-star general.
No. So he said he was wearing an orange and white striped jail jumpsuit and orange flip-flops when he appeared in court.
So he'd lost his uniform.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So have you ever done anything to impress a woman?
Well, I feel like I haven't tried hard enough, actually. I remember we would say, like, occasionally we'd make up a job that would make me sound, make you sound better than your real job was, firefighter or something. But I never turned up in a fire engine.
This is J&S in J News.
So, shall I tell you my story?
Ah, yes. Yeah, please.
So, what have I got here?
Last week was, Chinese strippers?
We've had Chinese strippers.
At funerals.
At funerals. We're coming back to Japan this week for my story. And this was Japan. The title is Japan Hunt for the Deadly Fugu Fish.
Oh, okay.
Sold in error by a supermarket. It's not one of the catchier titles. Don't think it was a tabloid. This was on The Guardian. It says, a Japanese city has activated an emergency warning system to alert residents to avoid eating locally purchased blowfish after a mix-up saw toxic parts of the delicacy go on sale. And Japan does have these warning systems. They're normally used for earthquakes and tsunamis and things like that.
Old people who've got lost.
Yeah, sometimes you hear that. You go, bing bong. There's an old woman wandering the streets, which I always think is kind of a bit of a indication to potential robbers. Someone who doesn't know where they are is wandering the streets, going to take their purse. Which is something we don't advocate, of course, on this show. So, at a supermarket in Gamagori in central Japan sold 5 packages of fugu fish without removing the livers, which contains the deadly poison. And this is the kind of like the Russian roulette part of it. It says 3 of the potentially lethal specimens have been located, but the other 2 remain at large.
Right.
So I'm saying that if you're in Gamagori at the moment and you're still eating fugu,
you're probably not listening to this podcast. You've probably got some Chinese strippers at your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever eaten fugu?
No, and I've been in Japan a long time and I've never had it.
I've had it. It just tastes like normal fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being English, our appreciation of the different types of fish compared to Japanese people, it's always just, it tastes like fish, especially because just cover it in soy sauce and wasabi.
Yeah, the subtle flavours of the fish is certainly lost once you've put a little bit of wasabi on it. It blows your head off.
It's better than dropping dead from eating poison.
Yeah. It says, in the article, it said, Japanese chefs are required to obtain a special permit to prepare the fish, which is not surprising because in Japan you need a special permit to do that.
Do absolutely everything.
Everything. Yeah. It said several people in Japan are killed each year by incorrectly prepared fugu, with dozens more people suffering non-fatal side effects.
Right.
So, if you're eating fugu or the blowfish out there, take care is what I would say.
So it's weird. Well, a couple of people die from eating fugu, and there's always quite a few people die from eating the rice cakes every year. The old people choking to death. So, more people die of food injuries or whatever than gun deaths in this country.
Yeah. Well, what I think they should probably do is the people who are dying from fugu is that everyone should be given fugu. Makes sense, doesn't it?
No. Why?
No, that's the current gun policy in America.
Oh, right. Okay.
With the teachers.
So just give everybody fugu.
Give everyone fugu. So you can fight fugu with fugu.
All right. Yeah, that'll work.
It's international. Yeah. John and Sam in Japan.
Now it's time for an interview. So who have we got lined up on this episode then, Sam?
We're featuring Mike Staffa, who founded the Pirates of Tokyo Bay in 2010. It's a improv comedy group. He also founded the Pirates of the Dotonbori in Osaka in 2005. So you can see he likes a nautical theme for his improv groups. Mike tours globally as an improv actor and instructor. He's done TED Talks. He's performed in Southeast Asia, Europe, America. He's all over the place. He's one of the hardest working comedians there is. This interview is really interesting. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yep, good stuff.
So, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time today. You're busy. You got a show tonight, so we are literally imposing.
No worries. Yeah, thanks for having me.
What's going on?
Yeah, we have our monthly show here in ABC at What the Dickens. It's a Japanese-English bilingual show. It's short-form improv, and we've been growing our audience. We've been seeing a lot of mixed couples come, and they kind of want to see the show and see if they both can laugh together at the same thing.
How long have you been running this show?
In Tokyo, we've been running this show. We just had our 7th anniversary last November, so we're going into our 8th year here in Tokyo.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been going some time.
Yeah, and then in Osaka, we've been going for 11 years, if my math is correct.
And you started the Pirates
of the Dotonbori. Yeah. So that's the big river in Osaka, and we started that 11 or 12 years ago. And then when I moved to Tokyo, we kind of expanded the brand and made a Tokyo version.
Yeah. And you're off to Singapore this...
Yeah, this weekend.
Right.
This coming week, it'll be our 5th trip, our 5th tour to Singapore. So we go over there to teach some high school kids about improv. Right. And then we take part in like a high school improv tournament. Yeah. And then we try to lose because we won the first year and it got kind of embarrassing.
Oh.
So we kind of try to lose every year since then. And we do some workshops with other groups in Singapore. So it's fun to kind of see what other people are doing. And we try to tack on as many countries. Last year we did Singapore, Manila, and Kuala Lumpur all in 1 month.
Nice.
It's quite a busy tour.
Yeah. And what does your wife say about that?
I think
Mine would be livid. Yeah.
I think she enjoys kind of free time and not having to put up with me a little bit. Yeah, I think she's okay. I hope so.
Yeah, good. We'll have to check.
Is there a difference in the audiences between those countries, do you think? Or
yeah, definitely. I would even say between Osaka and Tokyo, there's a difference. And so when we did Manila, we do that every other year. And that audience, I don't know, they're like, I've never been to a Southern Baptist church, but like that would be my impression of like Southern Baptist church / Jerry Springer audience. And like, if any Filipinos are listening, I'm being as nice as possible. I'm very complimentary. But I remember the first time we toured in Manila, it was like 2013, and we ran out on stage, not knowing what to expect, and it was the loudest, most deafening. There's about 500 people in the audience, like slapping the stage, laughing.
That gives you goosebumps, though, right?
Absolutely. But luckily we're improvisers, so we had to kind of adjust on how we pull out the suggestions. Right. Here in Tokyo, it's a very different way to get suggestions from the audience.
It's like pulling teeth.
It's very no. It's like very complimentary. Right. So if it was a Japanese audience member, I would say like, "You in the lovely blue sweater, can you give me an action?" And then, "Oh, thank you. Oh, my sweater." Like you have to kind of pump them up a little bit before you can unlock some suggestions.
You with a lovely brown eye.
Yeah.
Originally, how did you get into improv?
It's kind of an embarrassing story, I guess. In college, so I did proper stage theater acting.
And everyone pissed themselves.
And so my friends kind of said, "Hey, you should do acting." So I did theater acting, some like very unique plays, like Spanish playwrights. A Blood Wedding was the name of this one play I was in. And I never messed up a line, but I was that guy who would be behind the curtain with my script, just going over it the millisecond before my character had to go on stage.
Right.
Just in case. And like it scared the crap out of everyone else in the production going, well, he doesn't know his lines? We've been rehearsing for weeks. Right. I knew my lines. It was just this comfort thing. And so I got kind of traumatized by the idea that if I don't say my line of like, "Will you marry me?" then the the counterpart can't say, "Yes, I will marry you."
Yeah.
So I could derail the whole thing by doing like a scripted play. And so that scared me. So then I heard about this improv group in my college, and my friend's like, "Hey, you should audition for this improv group." I was like, "Okay." So I auditioned. It was like a 3-day audition process.
Wow.
And I failed. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
What sort of stuff did they make you do?
A lot of like mind games, thinking quickly.
Right.
It's not about joke telling or movie quoting.
Yeah.
So I failed that audition. That was my freshman year of college. So I thought, all right, that's not in the cards for me. Right. Sophomore year, I heard about the auditions, and they're like, "Hey, you should audition." And I actually lied and was like, "Oh, I'm going out of town." Because I didn't want to go through like the drama of not making it again.
Well, I think that lie showed that you were quite good at improvising.
Maybe. So what happened? So I made up some lies like, "Oh, I'm going out of town. I won't be here. Too bad. Have a good auditions." Then the leader of the group saw me in the supermarket that weekend after the first day of auditions, and they were like, "Oh, I thought you were going out of town." So I thought, crap, I'm busted. So they kind of broke the rules and let me come to the second of the 3-day audition.
Oh, right, so you skipped the day.
I skipped the first day, and they let me go in, and then I auditioned that second year and made it. and the cheesy line of the rest being history.
Yeah. So and how many years ago was that?
That was 2002.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so that's a pretty heavy audition. Like, so that's a 3-day audition. John and I both do stand up.
Yeah.
There's no audition.
Yeah.
You go on stage and they laugh or they don't. That's literally it. So when now you're running the show, literally, or the shows. What are you looking for in an improv performer?
Yeah. So here in Tokyo, we have auditions roughly once a year. It's not kind of set in stone.
Right.
Auditions are actually only 3 hours. Right. The inside tip, if anyone's listening that wants to auditions, is we actually pay more attention to what they do during the intermission.
Oh, really?
Because if you're kind of just like being rude or being annoying while everyone else is eating snacks and kind of like relaxing, like we just don't want that energy.
Right.
Because it's a team.
A team player.
If we're going to Singapore, we'll go to New York, and we don't want to sit on a flight and be stuck with it. They could be amazing on stage, super funny. So we have this kind of like unofficial bus test, and we basically talk amongst ourselves when everyone leaves. Is would you want to sit on a bus with that person?
Right.
Because we took a bus to Fukushima and did a bunch of shows, and that's like a 12-hour bus.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you want to sit on a bus with
that
someone?
guy or that girl?
Regardless of what they did during the audition time.
Right.
If you have some vibe about the person. Because improv is different than what you guys do in the sense that it's about the group and the scene as opposed to like the individual and the joke.
Yeah.
Right.
So we want the audience to leave thinking, oh, that scene was really, really funny.
Yeah.
Not that guy was really, really funny.
Yeah. I mean, John, could you see yourself doing it?
No. No. Yeah. Well, you know me, like I'm very methodical even with my stand-up. Like I write it down to a T and... Yeah, but I suppose from recently I've done a lot of hosting and you kind of get into that thing. But yeah, I don't know. I feel I'm too introverted to do that. But I know you'd love to. The singing stuff especially.
I'm a big fan of singing song. Massive. But I think I hope I'd pass the bus test.
Yeah. I think you both.
I think I passed the bus test.
I think you both passed the bus test. Yeah.
But I think what you just said there about you don't like as a group you don't want them going away saying that guy or that girl was funny. Yeah. The scene was funny. Yeah. I want them going away saying Sam O'Toole is very funny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe I could curb that if I was in a group, and I probably could to a certain extent, but there's always that kind of...
You failed the audition, mate.
I have,
sorry.
yeah.
It's too late.
So what places... You mentioned Singapore
Yeah.
and Thailand. Philippines.
Yeah, we've done 21 tours to 10 countries.
Yep.
Wow.
Have you taken it to the States?
We have. We did New York.
How did that go?
That was actually long form.
Right.
And that was in New York. Upright Citizens Brigade. They have this Del Close Marathon. I'm using all these improv terms, but it's like the Super Bowl of improv, basically.
Right.
But it's all long form. So we submitted... you have to get approved. You have to be selected. We got selected. We went over. It was intimidating to be in the Super Bowl of long form improv. And then we get on stage. And I don't know the audience appropriateness for this podcast, but I walk out and I'm like, all right, hey, we're from Japan. Give us a suggestion. And the audience is like, rape.
Oh.
And like, we don't get that in Tokyo. We don't get that. Like, it was very New York audience.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
were they talking about the seed?
Yes, exactly. And so, like, I kind of paused and I was like, anything else? And then everyone was like, that's a really good suggestion.
Yeah.
We're all going to support it. And so we were kind of like deer in headlights. It was a tough go. The end result was fine, and it was a great experience. It's a good feather in the cap for the group. Our first international tour was to Beijing, and this was after the earthquake, the big earthquake. And so everyone's all excited. Wow, we're going to go on this trip. It's going to be amazing. It was like a month after, I think, the earthquake. And first we get there, and we meet the producer, the people that brought us over, and they made me sign a contract for all of the pirates, which was scary, like the government. And it's the only public, at the time, the only privately owned, the government doesn't own this theater.
Right.
Privately owned theater.
Yeah.
And so they said, you need to sign this contract that you will not talk about Tiananmen Square or Chairman Mao. or I think Mongolia. I think. And it was like this full-on contract. And I'm going, oh my God, like what? I'm like, it's improvised. So I role-played with this government official. I said, what happens if the whole audience is quiet and one punter says like Tiananmen Square?
Yeah.
So what do I do?
Yeah.
And he goes, you don't hear it.
Focus on the shape.
Yeah. And I was just like, what? Okay. So they stood in the back of the audience and like watched everything.
I'm not an expert at improv by any means, but there's different types.
At all. Let's be honest. At all.
I have seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, I'll have you know.
The British version or the American version?
Both. Oh,
There you
okay,
go.
well,
Okay. Oh.
which is better? I mean, I've seen, you're the, okay, let's go to the expert last.
Okay.
Okay, so John, which would you, have you seen both?
Yeah.
Okay, which one do you prefer?
I like, actually the English one because they've got 2 American comedians on there.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yep, Ryan Stiles.
Ryan Stiles and the other.
Colin Mockery's Canadian.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
Canadian. Sorry.
It's all right.
But yeah, no.
They,
Same
they
thing.
don't mind when you mix it up. Do you?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Did you spit in my beer?
For me, yeah, I prefer the British one too. Probably biased, but I prefer the British one. But I think it's clear that Ryan Stiles is the best guy
Yeah.
at it. He's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Colin, what's the expert's view?
I appreciate both for different reasons. I think the British one, it's very intellectual, it's very word heavy, it's very clever. So that's up my alley, I think. But I respect the American one because it kind of got it to the masses. It makes, I did improv in the States and a couple other countries, and it made it easier to say what I do by referencing Whose Line Is It?
Right. Yeah.
Rather than having to explain the whole kind of thing. So I am appreciative of what the American one did.
All right, Mike Staffa there from the Pirates of Tokyo Bay. Very good of him to give up his Sunday afternoon to come and chat to us. If you'd like to find out more about them and their shows, go to thepiratesoftokyo.com. And now, a word from this episode's sponsor.
Do you live in Japan but wish you were back home? Get down to Mr. Disco's, Roppongi's premier nightclub and bar. We only speak English. Want to meet English teachers? Come on down. Want to see military guys get loose? Come on down. Want to have a chat with investment bankers who are suspiciously stimulated? Come on down. Visit Mr. Disco's. That feels like you never left home.
Yo, Johnny McBee and Sammy O.T. Two Brits talking shit over a cup of tea. Probably a spot of milk and a crumpet, please. But there's something else cooking in the kitchen. Could someone answer the burning question?
In this part of the show, we take a burning question and answer it.
That's right. We'd love the listeners to join in. So if you have any ideas for a burning question, or if you have an answer for a previous burning question that you want to share, please get in touch.
Yep, because the burning question never closes. So if you're listening to this and you want to answer a question that we've already answered, still feel free to contact us.
Yep, exactly. Contact info can be found at johnandsaminjapan.com.
All right, so what's this week's burning question then, Sam?
This week's burning question is, what is the biggest cultural faux pas you've ever made?
All right, and so this is off Twitter. #RichTokyo said, I was in Thailand and I got into a fight with a taxi driver because I tapped him on top of the head.
Oh, really? So
I think Buddhist countries, touching the top of people's heads is a big no-no.
Oh, is it? Okay, I think that's good to know. Jeff from Australia said when he visited Bulgaria, this is quite complicated. In Bulgaria, he said he just had like loads of problems because they nod their head to mean no and they shake their head to mean yes. So just constantly, he said, every time he made the mistake.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I can completely understand that. What about you? Have you got any cultural faux pas?
In Japan? Oh, well, when I first came to Japan, I joined a sports club. And in Japan, the sports club always have like these big hot baths, like communal baths. And the first day I kind of went in there after I'd been swimming and I had my swimming trunks on. And I looked at the sign of the door. It said, swimwear must be worn at all times. So I kind of got in the hot bath with my swimwear on, and then everybody else was naked, and they were all kind of looking at me. I thought it was a bit weird. So I went outside,
Typical
checked.
bloody foreigner.
Yeah, checked, and the sign was in English, and it said, swimwear must be worn at all times. So the second day I went back in with my swimwear on, and everybody was looking at me, and this little old man just said to me, "Oh, no, 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 no." And then I went outside and I showed him the sign. It said swimwear must be worn at all times. But at the very end of the sentence, instead of a period or a full stop, there was a very tiny X, which meant swimwear mustn't be worn at all times.
So swimwear must be worn at all times, not.
Yeah. And then at the end to that story, so I then pulled down my pants to go into the onsen. And in Japan, sometimes they have like old ladies who clean the men's
yeah, they're not
rooms.
shy about that.
No.
They have them in the toilet sometimes.
No.
You go for a wee and they're just walking around.
Just some old lady stood there. Oh, how are you doing? All right. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've had quite a few. Japan, obviously, is easy. There's to make a cultural faux pas. I suppose one of the worst ones I made was when my wife was my girlfriend. I went round to her house. Hadn't been in Japan very long, and we were having dinner. And then I stood up to go to the loo, and when I did, I stuck my chopsticks in the rice, and it was like literally around the table, like 7 or 8 people went, oh, and I didn't really know what was happening. My wife kind of quickly took the chopsticks out of the rice, and I went red. I didn't even know why I'd gone red. And when I came back, anyway, turns out that you only sort of stand your chopsticks in the rice at funerals. Yeah. So it's like a really kind of bad luck thing to do. So,
but she still married you.
Yeah, and it was cursed.
And her parents came to the wedding.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. There were no chopsticks. I just used the spoons.
John says in Japan.
This episode's featured stand-up performer is Zahra Barri, an Egyptian-Irish comedian based in London. She's very, very funny. I think you're going to enjoy this.
My name's Zahra, like the shop. But unlike the shop, my name is spelt Z-A-H-R-A. It's an Arabic name, and my Arabic family pronounce it Zahra. Because they're from Qatar. No, they're not really from Qatar. They're actually from Egypt. I'm half Egyptian. The other half of me is Irish. Being half Arab and half Irish, I am fully aware that my true vocation in life is terrorism. That's what the careers advisor told me anyway. Say that to people on public transport, you get surprisingly more legroom. But I did consider terrorism as a possible career path. But in this current climate, there's actually quite a lot of competition. So I settled for a career in stand-up. And it got me thinking, right, stand-up and terrorism are actually quite similar. Because both, you have to be good with large crowds. It's all in the timing. And you have to be willing to die. So, yeah. But no, I have had a very Middle Eastern upbringing. It's been more Middle Eastern than Irish. It's definitely been more Sharia law than Murphy's Law. For instance, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. My dad had a job there working with oil. He was a chef. No, but growing up in Saudi Arabia is very different to growing up in the UK. For instance, in the UK, teenagers spend all their time smoking weed, getting drunk. In Saudi Arabia, you do get off your head and stoned. It's just a bit different. Instead of your dad telling you that your skirt was too short, it was the Muslim police in the street telling you, and they were called the Matawi, which sounds like the Muslim The Only Way is Essex, doesn't it? I really like The Only Way is Essex. I watch it all the time. I think it's a really good show. I think it's really important that we're embracing people of colour. Celebrating orange people. But I don't live in Essex, I live in London. When I moved to London, I was very skint, so I had to move in with my very Egyptian, very Muslim, strict aunt. And she was very strict. She said stuff to me like, Zahra, get married young, have children young, get divorced young, and then get on with your life. So that's what I'm trying to do, because, you know, every girl wants to find the guy that they will eventually divorce. So I went on a dating show. I went on a dating show called Dating in the Dark. I actually got scouted by the producers of Dating in the Dark. They said I had a face for dating in the dark. But if you don't know, the whole premise of the show is that you're going on and you're dating people in the dark. So you're going for people that you wouldn't necessarily find attractive in daylight. But it taught me, you know, I shouldn't be so materialistic, because some men are like a pair of Ugg boots. They look shit, but they feel good inside.
Zahra Barri there, wonderful stuff. If you like that, you can find more of her work at zahrabarri.com. So, John, have you enjoyed today's show?
Yep, as always, great stuff.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. That just leaves us time to say thanks to Mike Staffa for coming down and chatting to us about the Pirates of Tokyo Bay and improv comedy. And once more, thanks to Zahra Barri for being the featured stand-up performer. All of their information can be found at our website, johnandsaminjapan.com.
Yep, and if you'd like us to feature your stand-up or your musical comedy, or you'd like to answer the burning question or suggest a burning question, get in touch on social media or again on johnandsaminjapan.com.
That's right. And it would really help us out if you would subscribe to our show, review us, give us a 5-star rating, and tell all your friends and family and everyone you know.
Definitely 5-star.
Definitely 5-star. So, that's all from us. Catch you later.
John and Sam in Japan, the International Comedy Podcast.